Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the Cash Physical Therapy Headquarters podcast. Today we're talking about one of the most important things that you will listen to potentially this year. More important than any tactics, more important than any marketing strategy, sales strategy, anything you could be doing inside of your cash practice. Let me tee it up with a quick story. I had a friend of me and Ben. His name's Kyrie. He coaches pro athletes, 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs on how to live a fulfilled and happy life. And he also visited more than 100 different people in the hospital when they're on their deathbed to interview them on their lives and what their regrets were. And I remember asking him as we smoked cigars one night, what were people's biggest regrets? And he didn't even have to think about it. He said, they never regret the things that they did. They only regret the things that they didn't do, not the risks that they took, the ones that they didn't, not the time that they spent with family, the time that they sacrificed for a job that wasn't giving them the life that they actually wanted. And so here's what this has to do with your cash practice, right? You're not stuck because your marketing is broken. You're not stuck because your offer is wrong. You're not stuck because you need a better funnel. You're not stuck because you're not good enough to achieve what it is you're trying to achieve. You're stuck because you don't have a strong enough of a why. You don't have something that's pulling you forward through the troubles, the obstacles, the things that you have to overcome in order to achieve great things. Your why is not big enough. You didn't start your practice to achieve $20,000 a month in your business. You didn't start it to build a team. You didn't start it to open up other locations. You started it because you want an extraordinary life. You want to live a life that most people can't, where they're able to be home with their kids. They're able to take Fridays off. They're able to travel the world. They're able to give their kids the things that they didn't get to have in their lives. And many of you are stuck because you don't have a strong enough connection to why you're actually doing this, to pull you forward, to do the things that are necessary, that are uncomfortable. They're going to force you to get through and do the things that are required to achieve the unreasonable things that you want within your own life. And so today we're going to be talking all about that. Ben, you started directly out of DPT school. Can you take us back to when you started your cash practice, why you started it right away, and like what was your why? What was pulling you through all of the people in your life that were telling you this was a stupid idea, all the fears and things that you had, all of the insecurities and things that you had to learn in order to find the success you did right out of the gate?
Yeah, I think it evolves over time. Like my why, anyways, evolved over time. First thing was getting in PT school. That was I was really hesitant on what route I wanted to go. But once I decided I wanted to do PT, I went all in. And got into PT school. It was really tough for me to get into PT school. I didn't decide that I wanted to go into PT until at the very end of my sophomore year. So I had no prerequisites done. I didn't have any biology done. I didn't have any chemistry classes done, any of those prerequisites done. And so I had to cram all those into my junior and senior year and take many of those courses at the same time. As you guys know, those are tough courses. And just having a shot, my GPA was like 3.1. And so it's not very strong to try to get in PT school and not have prerequisites. So I pretty much had to go the last 2 years getting a 4.0 while taking all these classes. And so I really didn't go out much my junior and senior year. I just hunkered down and knew I needed to get a 4.0 essentially straight from junior through senior year. And I did it.
Yeah.
And it was really tough because I'm not naturally like gifted in the academics like that. And so I really had to work at it. And so I did end up getting like a 3.98 through junior and senior year just to have a shot at getting PT school. Applied to 10, only got accepted into one because I didn't have a whole lot of prerequisites enough done. So anyways, my point saying is I got into PT school, and after my first clinical rotation, I was like, I don't know if I made the right decision.
Yeah.
I don't know if this, like, I've seen multiple patients at once, like 15 patients today. I've seen all these PTs like working their asses off, not really giving great care, all for what, And I was like, damn, do I just like drop out? Like but I'm like, I worked so hard to get into PT school, and so like, let's figure out what else is out there. And so that's when I went and started exploring the cash physical therapy route of things and explored that. And it's like, all right, this might be an option. This might be the only way that I can make this work. And so, long story short, I just dove deep into that, like my second and third year in PT school. Because like this is the only way I can be a PT, and continue to do what I desire to do on it. And so I did take a traveling contract because I wanted to explore a little bit going out of PT school. And it just, again, it was super high volume. Like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Let's just figure out what works. So I started my cash practice. So I started because I like just essentially I was trying to stay in the profession.
Yeah.
Like the whole theme of it, of my why, was just trying to stay in the profession, stay in with what I worked so hard for. Ultimately, my why started changing though. Once I started having some success, like, okay, great, but why am I doing all this? And so the why started shifting, and I kind of had to reflect on like, yeah, I did all this because I want to stay in the profession. Well, now I'm in the profession. Now what?
I think most can relate. Like they started their practice out of necessity because they were burning out. They weren't able to treat patients the way that they wanted to. They wanted to be able to treat people the way that they deserved, but also having a little bit more autonomy. And so I'm curious, like when you did get started and you started to find some of that success, when did you reach a point where you're like, what do I actually want? Like, what did that journey look like? Because I know a lot of people are stuck there because they just want to get to 10K a month. They just want to make enough money to survive, but then they get stuck there. How did the process evolve that led to creating this bigger why that's pulled you to now, almost 7-figure in profits per year for your practice?
Yeah, I think it's like when I started seeing that, hey, this cash pay thing is a viable option. And I started beginning like, there's really the possibilities are kind of endless here. Like, where do you want to take this? And so I started reflecting on my life and what I want it to be. And like, I don't want to have to just see patients. I don't want to have to work 60, 80 hours like I had been, in my practice. Like, how do I start doing that? Getting my time back. And it was through hiring and scaling. And like, I realized that, this lifestyle business that everybody said, yeah, oh, you get to, build your own caseload, work for yourself. You see 20 patients a week and you're good to go. This lifestyle business. And like, there's nothing lifestyle about it. Like, I need to actually scale to have the life that I want. And that's time freedom with my future family and stuff like that. And that's a big reason why I started also right out of school. I saw so many people that had these aspirations and dreams to like start their practice, and then life happens, like honestly, like thinking about now, it'd be really tough to kind of for me to start over. And I don't have a family yet. Like once you have like kids and a family, and you can't really take those same risks. And so I think the biggest mistake that people make is waiting. The best time to start a practice, in my opinion, is right out of school. People say you need experience, all that stuff. If you wait too much longer, it gets harder. It really does get harder as more life stuff happens. At 27, I graduate PT school at 26, 27. There's so much more time freedom, and you can gamble and take more risks.
Right. Because it's not like you're going to be a better PT somewhere else. If you don't quite have the confidence and the clinical skills, you're just going to go work for someone else and get crappy outcomes over there. And you're going to learn and gain the experience. You might as well gain that experience in your own box where you control all the variables.
Yep. I guarantee I became a better PT working for myself than if I would have went 2 years and got mentorship elsewhere.
Hell of a lot more pressure to do
so
great.
Much more pressure. You learn actually like clinical skills. Marketing and sales are more important to get people results than clinical skills. You can't help people that you can't get in front of them, and you can't help people that you can't communicate value. If I would have went and worked with an insurance-based clinic, I would have never learned those skills. I would have been starting all over afterwards. Yeah, I might have had better clinical skills, but I don't know, after a year and a half of having my own practice, I had over 100 5-star Google reviews.
Yeah.
I had more Google reviews than all these other clinics that had seasoned PTs. It's because I had the time, and that time of one-on-one allowed me to slow things down and actually learn. So I actually think that, yeah, I see where people say you need to get mentorship and stuff like that, but I grew more quickly as a person and as a clinician, actually working for myself than going and getting mentorship from a seasoned clinician.
Right. Totally. I totally believe it. Trial by fire is always always going to make you get better faster than anything else. Now, I want to emphasize the importance of this vision. Now, for you, like you started really growing this once you realized that you had some initial success and the sky is really the limit. You could take this as far as you want to take it. And I'm going to ask you in a little bit, like, what were some of those moments that were really, really hard? But because you had that vision, you're able to pull through and just eat the frog and to get through to those, make your vision that reality. And I want to share real quick that, a lot of people, they doubt what it is that they're able to accomplish. And so they set small goals that aren't even their goals. It's goals from other people, their parents, other cash practice owners. They just pick something that someone else did because they're afraid of truly committing to something and falling short and failing of that. And so they set these really easy goals, not realizing that they're making their lives so much harder. And you're able to accomplish so much more than you think. And one of the ways that I've taught this to our members at live events is, okay, if you ask any ordinary practice owner in the early stages of business, it's what are the odds that you can build $1 million practice this year? What are they going to say?
Probably zero.
Yeah, probably fuck no. Right? But if you add in a variable and if your family's life depended on it, could you build a 7-figure business this year? We're going to get a completely different answer, right?
Yep.
Because of the necessity, because of the why that is behind it. And so a lot of people, they turn something that could be accomplished in 2 to 3 years into this 10, 20-year career because they simply aren't connected to a high enough purpose, a high enough why that forces them to ask bigger questions, find better solutions, and take action with a level of urgency that makes other people ask, like, yo, why are you working so hard? Because they see you outpacing them. And so the idea here is that if you're stuck in your business right now, if you feel like you have a plan, but there's a lot of feast or famine going on, there's a lot of imposter syndrome and shiny object syndrome, those are all symptoms of not being connected to a strong enough purpose. And so many of you, you don't have a marketing problem, you don't have a sales problem. Those are symptoms of an underlying issue if you don't have a strong enough purpose to pull you through to unlocking and achieving or overcoming the obstacles that are currently in front of you. You're resisting everything. And when you don't have a strong enough purpose, every obstacle, every challenge, everything that's uncomfortable feels like a good reason to quit because you're not connected to that thing that's on the other side of that discomfort. I just listened to an interview by a guy named Jim Rose. I think it's Jim Rose. Have you heard of him? That was um, Tony Robbins' original mentor. Brilliant guy. He passed away, I think, in 2009. But he said that the stronger the why, the easier the how. And a lot of you are really, really struggling with the how, and the how feels so damn hard simply because your why is not strong enough to make it feel small and like a mild inconvenience in comparison. And so we need to dig deeper to think about what is it we truly want to accomplish within our lives. When we're on our deathbeds and we're reflecting on everything that we've accomplished, the lives that we've impacted, the circumstances that we're leaving our family in after we go, how do we make that person as proud as humanly possible? And we got to think about that today. And we need to think about that in such detail that we're so strongly connected to that purpose that it is pulling us forward, and all the other things in our lives are trying to pull us back. The need to learn sales, the need to learn marketing, the need to stay focused rather than going out and drinking or whatever it is you might be doing, where that pull is so strong that all the rest of it can be ignored. And so for you, Ben, do you remember a time where things got really, really tough and there's something you really, really didn't want to do, but that connection to you wanting to have time freedom, wanting to be able to provide for your family in the way that you always wanted to, where that why pulled you through? Did I lose you? Can you hear me?
Okay, hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, the main thing is like there's multiple stances. Like, I think your question was like, what were some things that pulled me through, or what
Yeah.
was it?
Like, what were some of the obstacles that were in your way where you're like, God, I really don't want to do this. Like,
Yeah,
this is getting too hard. But that connection to that higher purpose pulled you through to do it.
yeah, it really came down to like really the big first gut punch was COVID.
Mm.
I've been in business for I think only 14 months at that point. So a business at that stage is pretty delicate. And then our entire marketing channel was workshops and gym owners. Gyms are shut down, and we were in Alameda County, which is in Bay Area, California, the place that shut down the fastest and the hardest. And so I had to fight tooth and nail just to stay open,
Mm.
just to keep a pulse. I had to fight with the county to stay open. I had to fight with the state to be able to stay open because we were operating within a gym. I had to fight with the gym owner to be able to allow us to continue to treat out of there because we're technically fit. We're not technically fitness. We're healthcare and medically necessary. And so I was just like, do I really want to go through all this? Like, even if I can open, like, how am I going to serve my patients?
Yep.
That's how we got connected with Facebook ads and stuff. And that's what kept me afloat. But like that was a big gut punch of like,
Mm.
this is something I really want to do, and just to stay open.
Yeah.
Once I'm open, what am I going to do from there? And so I also had employees. I had just hired employees at that point. I was responsible for two other people's income as well. So that wasn't a fun place to be. But you have to dig deep and like, hey, why? Really start asking yourself, why are you doing these things? And that's why got me through that stuff, and continues to this day.
Right.
Yeah.
What is your why? What is that non-negotiable purpose that not only pulls you through difficult times, but forces you to keep reaching?
I mean, it really comes down to future family and time freedom. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
want to hustle right now and be able to have as much time freedom and financial freedom when that time comes. And I've always mapped out a roadmap of how to achieve that,
Yep.
and on pace and actually exceeding that pace, and could do it even sooner if I wanted to.
Yep.
Right. So essentially, getting to that point where I can retire. I could retire now if I really wanted to.
Mm.
You know, and so now it's like, what type of lifestyle do I want to have?
Yeah.
And I want lifestyle creep to go up. And if so, great. Then I kind of need to delay things or push a little bit further and a little bit longer to technically retire off of that. Right.
Yep.
So, it came down to time and financial freedom with my future family, being able to coach my kids' sports, sports teams, stuff like that. Be there, for, the special moments, not have to, you know, miss out on taking them to school. I have no comments. I'll be able to pick them up from school,
Yeah.
take them to school, have slow mornings. I can go out on the weekend with them and go on a trip and not be stressed and be completely unplugged with things because of that. And so it was that, or the alternative, like, I'm going to have to continuously respond to a boss, make sure that, hey, I got to request PTO. I got to essentially okay it with somebody else to be able to spend time with my
Yep.
family. And that was the alternative. Like, all right, if it doesn't work, are you okay with going to that where you are going to be seeing 15 patients a day until you're 60 years old?
Yep.
Can I do that? Like, it's like, hell no. So like, that was my why. I was like, there's anything would be better than that. And not only that, but laying on my deathbed, like wondering what I could have done instead of seeing 15 patients a day, doing the same thing over and over again for 35 years,
Yeah.
hell no, And so, I mean, that the fear of pain is also a stronger motivator than gain. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so having that lifestyle and like time and financial freedom is a gain. Make sure that you also have pain pushing you as well.
Yep.
That's where I think the magic happens when you can reflect on both. Like, that
Right.
was not.
You have to have both,
Yeah.
because pain is not enough. It's not strong enough of a motivator, because as soon as you have success, that motivation's gone. And that's where I want to pick apart a couple of things that you said there, but like a lot of the people that come to us for help, they're purely motivated by pain. And at first, when they start their practice, they're in a lot of pain. They're not making enough money. And so they're working their asses off to try to make enough money to escape pain. And then eventually they get to 10, 15, maybe 20K a month where things are comfortable. And so they stop pushing because their motivation's gone. And then things get worse and they drop back down to pain. And then they work hard and they go back up and it gets easier. And so when you're purely pain motivated, you never break through that plateau. And that's what creates feast or famine cycles, because you stop pushing because that motivation disappears. And so what's so important about what Ben said is pain gets you started, but you have to have this higher purpose, this goal, this lifestyle that you want to create for yourself that is non-negotiable in order for you to break through those plateaus. And so that's why I said in the beginning, if you are experiencing a lot of feast or famine cycles, if you feel like you're stuck, if you're chasing a bunch of tactics, it's because you're trying to escape pain. You don't have a target, this non-negotiable purpose and vision for yourself that you're striving to achieve, that is being your North Star, your guiding light to getting there. And when you have that goal, but you don't reverse engineer it like Ben does, or we help all of our clients do, like you don't have the belief that you can actually accomplish it. It's just this pie in the sky idea. And a goal without a plan is just a wish. And so not only do you have to have this higher purpose, this thing that fuels you and pulls you towards it every single day, once you know what that higher purpose is, whether it's lifestyle goals of you don't want to have to work every day, you want a business that runs itself, you want to be able to travel every single year, you want to be able to afford nice things. How much do those things cost? Okay, how much income are you going to have to be able to earn every single year to afford those things? Okay, if that's going to be your income, how big of a practice do I have to build? How many patients am I going to need? How many leads am I going to need? And then reverse engineer that to be your guiding light to get you there. Because if you don't reverse engineer it, not only do you not have the belief and that purpose is going to fizzle away and disappear as you lose faith in being able to achieve it, but when you don't reverse engineer it, all of a sudden, every single shiny object, do workshops, do webinars, start an online course. All of those things sound attractive because they're promising more revenue, distancing yourself from pain. But if it's not connected to this greater vision, this greater purpose, it pulls you either towards a completely different destination that you didn't want to be at and extends the amount of time you have to stay in pain, or it does something completely even worse, where you're working on the wrong problem with the wrong solution and you end up in a worse place. And so you have to have that non-negotiable purpose. You have to reverse engineer it to increase the belief and to steer you away from all of the million things that are trying to pull you away from achieving all the things that you want to have in your life. And so those are the most important elements. Anything to add to that, Ben?
No, it's just, you really can't, you got to have more than just a revenue goal, or, being able to see 20 patients a week. Once I get there, I'm going to have that. You've got to have a bigger why.
Right. So. And so for the listeners here, ask yourself, what do you want to accomplish in your life? Write down, take 5 minutes and write down, what are all of my goals? Write down every single one of them and take time to go through that. Once you've spent 5 minutes getting every single goal that you can think of, write down and rank those. Like, which of these are 1-year goals? Which of these are 3-year goals? And which of these are 10-year goals? And now you're going to start to see, are you a long-term thinker or a short-term thinker? And if you're a short-term thinker, maybe you got to think a little bit bigger and think about, like, what do I want 10 years from now? Or if you're a long-term thinker, maybe I need more 1-year goals, so I have a more structured plan to actually achieve those 10-year plans. And so ask yourself, what is it you truly want in life? What you want, not what you think you can get. Okay, that's the very, very important thing. We have to aim for the biggest, best thing that we actually want, because once you reverse engineer it, you'll realize that it's actually not as insane as you think. Like, how many of our clients never thought that they would build a team, let alone build a 7-figure practice? A lot. But when you set that target and you reverse engineer it and you can see it and you can see the path, all of a sudden your belief is through the roof. And once you have the belief that you can actually attain it, everything else becomes unimportant. All the things that are pulling on you, all the people in your life that are trying to pull you down or doubt you, or all the different shiny opportunities that pop up, it's easy to say no to those things because now you see the roadmap to achieving the life that you truly want to have that 99% of the world never get to achieve. So you have to have those things. Now, I want to wrap it up on bringing some awareness to a really, really uncomfortable truth. We all, on average, only have 4,000 weeks to live. Ben, you mentioned when we first started that a lot of people are like, I'll start a cash practice later when I'm ready. And you don't have the time that you think you have. We all have 4,000 weeks to live, and it's up to us to choose how we're going to use the time that we're given. Now, I'm just going to read some stats that I pulled up because I'm working on our new Limitless Power workbook for our Limitless DPT program. And here's just a rough breakdown of how the average person spends their life. Okay. Of the 4,000 weeks that we have to live, your childhood from 0 to 14 takes up 728 weeks, 18% of your life. Your education is 572 weeks. This is going through like grade school, high school, college, and DPT school. That's 14% of your life. Working, the average person's working from 25 to 62. That's 1,900 hours. 48% of your life is spent doing the work, fulfilling on whatever it is you need to do. And then when you retire, on average 62 to 77, 19%. That's when you're not working. Okay, so that means that we have a very limited amount of time to actually execute on all of this stuff. Now, that's just the life stages that we have. Okay, there's also all these other things that tax our time. Okay, sleeping. You're going to spend 33% of your life sleeping. You're going to spend 15% of your life, 583 hours doing work, commutes, schoolwork, any other just random obligations in your life. Maintenance in your life, personal care, meals, cooking, chores, errands, admin stuff. You're going to spend 748 hours of your life, 18%. Okay. When all of this is said and done, TV, 924 weeks you're going to spend on average watching TV. Time with family, and that includes social media. 23% of your life you're going to spend on social media and watching TV. 500 weeks are going to be spent in quality family time, on average 3 hours a day. That's 12.5% of your life. Okay, when all of this is broken down, you only have 272 weeks in your entire life to make something happen for yourself. 6.8% of your life focused on how great can I become? How many people can I impact? That's not a lot of time. There's not a lot of time to make your vision for your life your reality. And a lot of people never achieve their goals because they don't have the urgency or the strong enough connection to their why to take the action that is required to become that version of themselves who can achieve and sustain that life. 6.8%, 272 weeks. Are you going to waste it, or are you going to go all in? Figure out what kind of life you want to live that would make you proud and grateful on the day that you get to pass on. What is it you need to do? You don't have a lot of time. It takes urgency, and you need to think about this every single day. Every day, every decision I make is guided by, am I going to make that old man proud and grateful from this decision? If it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. And I don't have time for it. I don't need it. You got to have that strong of a connection to your greater purpose and your higher calling to pull you through all of the stuff that is fighting against you, the skills you need to develop, the systems you need to build, the beliefs you need to overcome. All of these things are obstacles that, if you don't have a strong enough purpose, are going to look like reasons to give up on the lifestyle and dream that you've had your entire life. So get to work. Design what your vision is. What is it you truly want in life? Not what you think you can get, what you want. Then reverse engineer it. Then ask yourself, am I willing to do what it takes to get there? And am I willing to live with the consequences if I don't? If you got value out of this podcast, make sure to subscribe and like this video. Share it with someone you think that might need it. And if you want to work with Ben and myself to help you nail down what your vision is that you want for your life and reverse engineer it so that you can create that life through your cash practice. Go to clinicalmarketer.com and apply to work with us. We'd love to chat and see if there's something